So I'm gonna tell you what I see when I come here to the podcast. I see you and see it. And what I see is connection. So when we think about children are extremely disconnected from adults. Healthy adults too, right? Who they are vastly connected to is technology. And so they don't know how to interact in the classroom in a healthy way if the environment doesn't create psychological safety. But in addition to that, it's technology that they are closely connected to.
What up, what up, what up? We are back again for another edition of Father's Heart Podcast with your boy Shon and Cole.
And George.
And George.
George be so casual with George.
Yeah. I'm just happy to be here.
You just happy to be here.
Fake humblest thing.
I'm just listen. I tell you one thing though. You know, all jokes aside, man. I know when I was a kid, my grandmother used to say that she's just glad that she woke up in her right mind.
Man. I say that now.
Listen to me.
I still say that.
Listen, I say that now.
I say that.
Having a father who has Alzheimer's, bro, and me. Yeah, let's just say that I'm like, oh, I get it. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I know who I'm with. I can tie my shoe.
Yes.
All of that type of stuff.
Yeah,
bro.
Yeah.
It's really funny how many things that we heard just kind of like repetitive when we were children, and we learned it and we ingrained it and everything like that. But then as we get older, it's like, oh, that's what that meant.
That's what that meant.
And that's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, speaking of that, we probably should just throw out a couple of things. So I heard you act like fat meat ain't greasy. Have you ever heard that?
Heard that?
Yes.
You act like fat meat ain't greasy.
Like
I was like, what is that? What? Explain that. What is fat meat? You act like fat meat.
So
this is a crazy thing. Before you say yours,
no, because mine is probably wrong. I'm just gonna say
no.
the way I interpret it.
I'm gonna tell you. I know mine is wrong. My wife gets on me because I say that today.
You say that?
But what I say is this. Yes, we can say it. That's unfortunate.
I think it, but I don't say it out loud.
I do. I say it to my kids. And especially when I'm adamant about what I mean. But my wife look at me like, dummy. It's fat meat. Ain't greasy, right?
Right.
I say fat meat greasy.
And you miss a very vital.
Yeah, man.
I'm like, you just don't believe that fat mean greasy. And I be meaning. Yeah.
George, what you got?
I tell you it's wrong. I tell you mine is wrong. But I never knew it was fat meat ain't greasy.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's just like when I say, I mean.
Yeah.
Because it's like, do you know what I mean?
But why go through all
I
that?
just be like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? You get it, you know what I mean?
We get it.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
So,
but what about yours?
Well, my limited interpretation is, so we know that greasy food, can sometimes cause us illness or sickness, whether we're talking about short term, immediate, or something like that, or long term, diabetes, cholesterol, different things like that. However, we don't eat it anyway. So when you say you act like fat meat and greasy, so you gonna do this, or you gonna participate, or you gonna engage that anyway, and you already know the consequences.
Yeah,
that's the way I take it.
That makes sense.
That's real.
That's real. That makes sense.
Now I can't confirm or deny that, but that's
right.
That's what it means to me, because it's always in a situation where somebody's going to do something that they've been warned or told or asked not to do, or something that they already done and had a stupid result, and you finna do it again. So you're like, oh, you act like fat meat ain't greasy. Yeah, that's the way I get it.
So I'm gonna throw one more out there.
But before you do that, because he threw me a layup.
Okay.
He threw a layup, right? Because you just said, what did you say? What was your part? You said that people, they knew the consequences.
They knew the consequences. They're gonna do it anyway.
They're gonna do it anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
So y'all gonna wear the same shirt, Like you ain't know the consequences? Like y'all gonna kind of dress the same
Wow.
way? Like you didn't know the
we
consequences?
had no communication. We didn't know.
I think y'all did.
And it actually really all
I
goes together
think
because your shirt I would wear underneath this shirt.
I think y'all had it. Y'all was talking.
This is how I know you don't think that, because when I got here, I said it's cold coming today. I said that. See, you heard me say that. So I
he
wouldn't
wouldn't
have
have known.
I would have never said that if I hadn't been in communication.
That was last week when you said that.
See, it was not here last week.
He said, "See,
No. And we were not here last week.
Listen,
right.
So that was a month ago when we came.
No, listen.
we getting off topic.
Listen, I just want to know, hey, do they look nice that they got the same?
Dude,
This is so ridiculous.
that's so off topic, bro.
I'm sorry. That
gotta stay focused.
that was gonna be my legit or not legit today.
Wonderful.
Just-
It is very legit.
That's legit.
Because it was not intentional.
And it was not intentional. And I would wear your shirt underneath this, so it have that little pop of gray. We killed it.
Makes good sense.
So together we collabed.
Y'all really crushed my. I thought I had one too.
No, you didn't have one, bro.
That was dope.
So let's
long sleeve and short sleeve.
Yeah,
Sorry,
and that's it too. Long sleeve.
Yeah.
So one more.
Yeah.
Children are to be seen
Not heard.
and not heard.
Yeah. Now I want to talk about that one.
We should talk about that because these things come out. We say these things as adults, as parents. It's passed down. Sometimes you say them, don't even really think about what you're saying.
Absolutely.
So you hear these things from people that you love. But what does it feel like? Have you ever experienced that kind of idea or that ideology? Because I feel like it's an ideology. Children are to be seen and not
What's your thought on
heard.
it?
I think it's the worst thing you could ever tell a kid.
I was going to say it's egregious.
What's your word do you
Egregious.
use?
We've been saying that
Egregious.
all day. It is.
It's egregious. To tell a child to be quiet.
Yep. You're telling them don't think. You're telling them don't feel. You're telling them, you know what I'm saying, don't engage. But you having adult conversations, or even if it's not adult, you having conversations with not in front of them. And different things like that they might actually have a thought or might have an input on. And so, but like that, we can go on a rabbit trail because we have so many sayings like that. What goes on in this house stays
in this house.
That is dangerous. That is dangerous. And I'm saying that from a point of, I'm not making that up. That's not opinion. That is dangerous. Have proven to be dangerous when children get older and family secrets or skeletons and different things start coming out about what actually went on in a house.
Yeah.
That is dangerous. So I think we box children in, and when they get into the real world, sometimes they don't know how to communicate effectively, or know how to talk, or know when to stand up for themselves. Because once they get on a job or something like that, the fact of the matter is, when they get into the real world, you won't be there to always cushion, protect, or different things like that. So these are things that we should be striving to cultivate and develop while in the house. But when we say things like that, and then it was always followed up with threat of physical harm in my situation. So you don't really have a choice.
So my thing with your initial one, I totally agree with that one. My thing with the question that you just asked about kids are to be seen and not heard, it's twofold for me.
Okay.
Right? The thing about it, I just think that some parents have been irresponsible. I don't even know if that's a word, but they have not been responsible, right? So it's just like the overcorrecting. Whereas I think that it's even like when you look at the old school church, right? Like some of the foundational things of old school church was amazing. And then when we came into knowledge and we got more wisdom, we overcorrected to where there is no tradition, right? It's just really, really, really loose. I think some of the old traditions was good, not necessarily was super spiritual, but it gave some form of structure, you know, discipline or whatever the case. So I just think it was overcorrection, right? When you talk about to be seen and not heard, I just think like kids today can say and do whatever the heck they want in some environments to where there's no discipline, and we are reaping a lot of the seeds that was sown. So I think that kids should be seen, and I think they should be heard, right? Like,
Are you saying time and place?
yeah, I think there's a time and place, or with teaching with it, because some parents is just like, oh no, you can say what you want, you're gonna do this, and so now there's like no regard. There's no, case in point, I was just at a school, and I think I mentioned it on our podcast a few weeks ago, but I went into class. You got a teacher here, and with the behavior specialist, these kids in there just throwing up gang signs, and they mother effing this and mother effing that. Bro, what type of learning environment is that? That's not a reflection of the school. They bringing that from the crib. So that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
But
I can speak
but
to that
I do.
direction.
I get it.
Yeah. Well, there's a twofold to that too, right?
Uh-huh.
Because there is this idea that when children show up into spaces that are not homes, it is the belief that it's coming from home.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also been in spaces where I've done nothing but work with kids and know parents where their kids are doing things. They have two different kids. There's a kid at home, and then there's a kid at school.
Yep.
So there's this identity that they're trying on too. So sometimes you might have kids in schools where they come from a home that is well structured, but sometimes they show up in this environment that isn't structured, and they're trying to fit in. They're trying to find their way. They're trying to figure out who they are.
I get it.
And so then they try to play out these kind of characteristics that align with the overall arching group. So I think that, but I also have to challenge the idea that I don't think that it's fair for children when we make these statements, children ought to be seen and not heard. Because I think it's how we say it and when we say it, and the context in which we use it in, which I think has a lot of barriers that impact adults. So when you go back to this statement, and I'm trying to remember what it was, would you say that that can be dangerous?
What goes on in this
What
house
goes on
stays
in this house stays in this house. That is, I mean, I think they kind of go hand in hand. And I know personally how that impacted me as a kid when CPS got involved, and my mother was told we have to go seek a therapist. I didn't know anything about counseling. I'd never heard of counseling, mental health, none of that. So we pulled up in the parking lot of this building where we were supposed to meet this therapist, right? And my mother just turned and looked at all of us in the car, and she said, "Don't you go in there and tell these white people our business." And she meant it. Like I knew that in the tone and the essence of her voice, the context in which she was using it in, she meant business. And so what we did, or what I did, I know what my sisters did, but I know when I went in and talked to the therapist, I completely made up a whole situation. And to the point that we got in trouble even more because I just went in there and started throwing out stuff versus actually telling the truth of what was happening. And so that carried over into my life, because when therapy was time to show up as an adult, I don't do therapy.
That first initial experience.
That initial experience.
This is trouble. I just correlated with trouble.
So I don't touch that. And so I think what I've been learning in my work serving kids is that when I work with adults, everything when you pull back those layers, it all kind of centers itself back to the experiences of your relationships with your parents.
That's good, Cole.
And
Cole, I totally agree with you with that. And just going back to the statement where you asked about the kids being seen and heard, I just struggle with the place of the state of where we are as a nation. You know what I mean? I just struggle with seeing, especially in my space of what I see. I finally get a chance to see all of them, whereas before I was only seeing the father. Now I'm seeing the father, I'm seeing this mother, I'm seeing this child, and I'm seeing different types of parents through the supervised visits, through the direct service with dads with no access, through the domestic violence. You know what I mean? I'm seeing all of this, and I'm just like, yo, this system. It's this system. And it's this system that is in our community. And it's this system and through government. And it's just like, yo, the one thing that I do to keep me going, right? I just always remind myself, I'm just playing my position.
Well, also what you're saying, you said system. what you're also seeing is systems.
Yes.
So you're seeing a variety of systems. You're seeing the family system, you're seeing the government system, you're seeing the child welfare system, you're seeing the foster care system, you're seeing all these systems wrapped up into one. But when we go back to that classroom that you just described, what you're also seeing, if you connect all those dots, is disconnection.
Absolutely.
Right? So I'm gonna tell you what I see when I come
That's
here
good.
to the podcast. I see you and Sid. So I see you too. And what I see is connection. So when we think about children, children are extremely disconnected from adults.
I'd agree.
Healthy adults too, right?
I agree.
Who they are vastly connected to is technology.
Yeah.
And so they don't know how to interact in the classroom in a healthy way if the environment doesn't create psychological safety. But in addition to that, it's technology that they are closely connected to. So part of what we have to do if we want to see change, we really have to work on connecting. And I see that interplay with you and your daughter. I see that interplay with you and George. So you are connected, and I think it is connection where we can have these very difficult conversations. It's connection where you can laugh, you can cry, you can do all those things, but when you're disconnected, then it's in disarray. So I think that's why our systems are broken. It's not families are broken, systems are broken. And so we blame families for having the issues, but it's really because they are disconnected from within themselves too. So that's what I think is the key, is that how do we connect?
That's good.
You know?
That's good, man.
Yeah.
That, I mean, I didn't look at it from that standpoint, from the big aspect of like that connection, because now I'm just sitting here, I'm like, man, I wish I had my notepad, because now my mind is going, and that is definitely real. You know what I mean? If we go back to the Bible, you know what I mean, it said, you know, man shouldn't be alone, right? It's like people need people, and it's that connection,
It's that
right?
connection.
You know, and you know, and it's just funny. You know, before we came on camera, my daughter said something, you know, just breezed over it, but I heard her.
I heard her too.
And what she said was, is that yes, just because you do that, and I know that's not your intent, it doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt.
Yeah. And she said something else too.
What'd she say, Carl?
She kept asking you these probing questions
Yeah.
about this event.
Yep.
And then she wrapped it up with, if you need another companion, I got you.
Yes.
Right? So I was like, oh, ding, 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 connection. Right? And so I find that our children will do she was asking you a variety of questions. Who's coming? Who you gonna be?
Yep.
Yeah, you gonna be by yourself?
Yep.
Are you going by yourself?
Yep.
Dad,
Yep.
if not, I want to come. Right?
Yep.
So she was, I heard her communicating with you as you were doing all these various
Yep.
things, but I knew you were listening.
Yep.
Because I think that's what fathers do. That's what healthy fathers do. They still are able to move around, right?
Yep.
But they also have to be clear so that they can listen. Yeah.
Yep.
Present.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard it.
I know
You know what I mean?
you did.
I heard it. You know what I mean? I was like, ooh.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, because you can get so caught up in just like, somebody said it the other day, and I know you guys heard people say it, but you know, they said we get caught up in being human doings instead of human beings.
That's hard.
It's
Right.
true.
That's
So-
very much true.
It's true.
It's very much true. The cares of life, routines, responsibilities, and different things like that. I know that this week I was on autopilot. I 100% know that I was on autopilot. And that's why I was like intentional about taking them time outs and stuff like that. Because that is human doings instead of human beings. Just
Let me
going
ask you a
from
question
one thing
about
to
that.
one thing to one thing to one thing.
Yeah.
I do have a question
Yeah.
about that. Did your family know? Did you talk to your family about what you was going through and the way you needed to process that?
Tell me exactly what you...
Because you
like,
say that you was on autopilot, right? Because when I hear autopilot, I know I can get disconnected and I go, right? And I shut down. And so who becomes a casualty is my family, because now they like, yo, this, you know, he's just gone, he ain't doing this. My son cried when I went to my last trip, bro. It bothered me badly. I'm like, yo, I'm a good father. I'm like, I'm involved. I do this, I do it. He looked me in my eyes. He was like, yo, like, when are you gonna stop traveling and going to these places? He was like, when you go again. So I did tell him I'm going this one. I'm like, yo, then I won't be gone as much. But I thought I've done a good job leading up to this. Like, yo, I'm gonna be busy during these times, but when I'm not, I'm here. But hearing him say that, it was like, yo, am I communicating? Am I present when I'm supposed to be present? Am I really present? So that's where that came from. Just wondering.
No, that's hard for me to give a clear answer to because it's a struggle of mine. Now, this week in particular, everybody knew what was going on, and what I was doing.
Okay.
But I vividly remember Gabriella. She's 15 now, but she was maybe about 7 or 8. And this when I was starting I'm starting the business, and so I'm doing a lot of work. I'm at home. I'm doing some stuff, and she always. This is when she was daddy's girl. We cool now, that's my baby now, but she was a daddy's girl at the time. And like she would come and try to say something, I'd be in my home office or something like that. And she started doing this thing. She would grab my face because I'd be talking to her maybe on the computer or something, and she would grab me and she'd pull me to her like, Dad, do I have your attention? She had to do that maybe about 2 times, and then after that, when she would come in and talk, I make sure that I sit back and just things like that. However, and this is why I say that it's hard, because as much as what I was doing for me, because I'm getting into my business, stuff like that, I was 100% doing that to secure my family.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And to expect a child to fully understand, sometimes our wives don't understand. You know what I'm saying? So to expect a child to fully understand that, I would go as far as to say you may have, and I'm being biased and I'm being personal now because I've seen you interact with your children. I would go as far as to say that I don't see you not being present when you're present. You know what I'm saying? Now, that's my opinion. Your baby's got to tell you. You know what I'm saying? But that's my opinion on outside looking in. I feel like you be around and be present, and I feel like that with mine. And so, now I will say this, and this is a fact, not one of my children can ever say in the duration of their life that I wasn't there.
Right.
But my boy, my 20-year-old, me and him have very candid and casual conversations. And one day he said it to me like this. He's like, you was, just not the way I needed you to be.
Right. Right.
Stung.
Right.
But his perspective is his perspective. Then he went into details.
Yeah. And
then he went into examples. And so after that, when I was trying to be dead and stuff like that, I remember one day we in the car and we getting heated because I got this plan for him. And my plan is grand. My plan is gold. I know what you need. I know what you need to do. And he ain't talking. You know what I'm saying? He ain't talking. His head just sitting there. And I looked at him. I said, "This ain't the daddy you need for me right now." And he looked at me. He's like, "No, it's not." So you gotta ask them questions, and you gotta be prepared to hear answers that you might don't want to hear. I'm saying that to say, talk to your boy, revisit that time or that conversation. Ask him what did he mean by that. Then maybe you can give more clear understanding of why you travel.
I know what he meant.
Okay. Well,
yeah. I want you
because what I was going to say, the beautiful part about what your son did, from my perspective, is that he knew to tap into the emotion that he had to use at that time to express what was going on, and that he could come to you and say it. So I'm not sure how y'all connected to it, but the fact that he's able to communicate with you tells me the closeness and the connection of the relationship, right?
Absolutely.
In addition to that, that also goes back to that original thought, why it's so dangerous when we say to children are to be seen and not heard. Because if I don't have that mobility to express myself, then I'm going to express it somewhere, and that might be in a dangerous place, right? And man, you were saying something, of course it escapes me, but I think we just have to, be present. But man.
Yeah. I ask questions that I know I might not want to hear the answer to. It hasn't always been a thing. Yeah. Like we was talking about blind spots earlier. My blind spot is, and I'll be very transparent, because I'm somewhat of a nerd. I've read so much information,
Yeah.
and I've read so much knowledge, and I went in and I feel like I have so much. I'm know-it-all.
Okay.
I know that. So I have to be very intentional about listening to hear and not to respond.
Whew. There's so much stuff out there, but how do you listen with your heart? And I
Yeah.
think when we go back to the development of this podcast, it's really centered around a father's heart. And I just want to thank you, brothers, for being transparent and open, and that we continue these conversations because it's necessary. So I know that you were listening when we were talking, and so I think to wrap us up, I hear you have a legit or not legit.
I do. It was sometime last year, correct?
Oh.
We celebrated the 1000th episode. How many episodes?
The
I don't know.
thousands.
I don't know.
I don't know where
I
you
don't know
going.
if we had 1,000. I don't know.
Maybe
We celebrated.
100. Was it 100?
It could have been 100.
Maybe. I don't
Whatever.
think we're at 100.
That's not even. That's
Okay, where
that's
we going,
neither here
George?
nor
Where we
there.
It's
going?
small.
Shine, or I can even ask you, how long has the podcast been in existence, year-wise? 2 years?
No.
2.5?
No, we've been this
At
third.
least 3.
Yeah,
At
we're the
least
third.
3. So.
Oh, I know where he going.
365.
Oh.
365 calendar days times 3, approximately. That's over 1,000 days. 52 times 3,
Mhm.
52 weeks. That's 150
Mhm, mhm.
something weeks.
Uh-huh.
Consecutively, you guys have presented
Mhm.
together. You know what I'm saying? I'm assuming maybe even traveled together and different things like that. Is it legit or not legit that we not only found out that this man was a poet today, but we found out that he was a psalmist or a singer, if you will? Is that legit or not legit after all this time? 3 years is a
Wow.
It's really easy for me. It's really easy for me. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, okay.
It is absolutely absurd and egregious.
Because you would consider yourself good friends, right?
Very
Brothers,
good
if you would.
friends.
At this point,
Yes,
Cole is my brother.
Absolutely.
Right.
It is
Yeah.
egregious.
Yeah.
I do know he was a poet,
Mm-hmm.
especially when he had the dreads.
Okay.
However,
See, I'm not familiar.
I did not know he was a psalmist.
Psalmist, or minstrel, if you will.
A minstrel. I can hear it in the voice.
It makes very much.
But
It makes
my
a lot of
thing
sense.
is,
You know.
I never knew that brother was gifted in that. I'm not surprised.
No, me neither.
Wow.
But
I'm
just-
taken aback at the audacity, if you will, to
The
withhold
audacity.
that from our brotherhood.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I feel
George,
like
this is a good one.
Yeah, I feel like it is. And so
this-
I gotta know legit. I gotta know legit. I don't want you to justify, but this is the
I'm
thing.
gonna practice what.
No, well, this is the thing. I'm gonna give you an out. I'm gonna give you out. You are allowed to justify.
Okay.
If
Okay.
you show, you're gonna like this. I promise you.
Okay.
I know you.
Because he low key mad because he didn't get this. That's what it is.
But-
So go ahead.
but-
I think I know where you're going.
Where
So
you
I'm
going?
good. I'm good. I know where you're going. Yeah,
I
that's
don't know
my
where
brother.
you-
I know where you're
I don't know
going.
where you going.
You have full.
Does somebody have a mic?
Yes, Lord. You do know where I'm going. That is my brother.
Wow.
You have full freedom to
Okay.
justify fully
Okay.
why you withheld this from us
Okay.
if you share a few seconds with our studio audience.
Do anybody have a mic?
A melodious,
Is he d-
harmonic
Me.
melody or tune. Otherwise, it's a straight up legit or not legit. But if you would like to justify in full freedom, like full disclosure, you can tell whatever you need to tell.
Oh,
if
you
you
good.
share, if you share with our
He
studio
good.
audience at least 10 seconds
He
of your
good.
favorite, I'm gonna help you out, of your favorite.
Oh.
Little Luther?
Your favorite tune.
In this world of
Oh.
mine. Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Burn in the bee.
Oh.
Just a little bit. Come on.
Wow. We doing that?
No, we're not. It's your
No.
choice.
That is a choice. That is a choice, right? And I'm just gonna circle back to you. Because
If this world.
we gotta wrap it up.
Come on, let's go. Let's go.
You said you circling.
I'm circling it back because how we started, right? So I'm gonna do this. So we gonna bring it back because I know the audience is gonna want to hear this.
Yes,
So
they are.
I'm gonna say.
All right.
No, I'm not saying I'm singing. Say that, bro. I'm gonna respond. what I did.
Well, it's really only it's a yes or no, like you did my brother.
That's what I'm saying.
With no.
It's legit.
It's legit.
It's legit.
That is the most egregious answer you've ever had, Carl.
We're gonna see in the comments. We are gonna see in the
It's
comments.
legit.
Please let us know if it's legit.
Remember,
or not.
365 times 3, 52 times
legit. Too
times
legit.
3.
Too legit to
Brotherhood,
quit.
travel,
Hey,
covenant, friendship, all of that. And we just found that out today.
I can hear it.
Too legit.
Man, listen. Man, it's so good, man. This is another great episode. Yo, until next time.
Oh
man.
my
Until next
gosh.
time. Yeah.